Most of the time, we only see the final product, a beautifully bound book on a bookstore shelf or a best-selling author on tour. But what we don't see is the months, even sometimes years of work behind the scenes. So what's it actually like to write a book? Let me show you. Monday is inarguably my most important day of the week. Like if my Monday doesn't go well, or if I'm not productive, or if I don't feel like I got a good handle on the week, the rest of it just kind of goes to which is not great. I know, I literally know that, but I'm the type of person where I need the Monday for my fresh start, or I need the start of the month. I wish I wasn't like that. It would make my life a whole lot easier, but that's me. I did set a goal for myself this month to write 5,000 words, and I've only written like 600 of those 5,000. Okay, yes, I wrote about 630 words to be exact, which is good. Like that's very good for me because I've been struggling a little bit to write. I wanted to say it was a funny story, but it is literally not funny at all. It's actually very terrible. I took a little break from my writing after I finished my final project for my creative writing master's that I finished in September, which it was just so much work that I felt so burnt out and I just needed a break. So I took a little break, and when I finally came back to my novel, I realized the tone I had currently been writing in or previously been writing in was not at all the tone that I actually wanted for this story. So not a funny story, actually quite terrible. I am now having to refigure out my tone and almost rewrite it like my meet cute. Well, actually, let's backtrack. So I am writing a fiction romance, and it's going under the alias Tide. So whenever I'm talking about it, we're talking about it, we're gonna call it Tide. So Tide, okay, let me think. I always want to spill too many plot details, and that will just be a recipe for disaster later on. So I can't really say too much, but my meet cute for my characters originally had a completely different story than what I'm actually going to write, and I completely changed this like a couple days ago. I don't know, I just had this vision in my mind that was like, wait, no, that's not gonna work. And I pretty much was just finding all these plot holes and ways that their original meeting just couldn't work for the story. Like it just wasn't realistic. It didn't make sense. I don't think anyone would believe it, and I was even forcing myself to believe it. My two characters are going to go on a big journey together, and in order to get them on this big journey, it just doesn't make sense for them to meet for the first time when they are meeting. Like there needs to be some history there so that they trust each other, so that it makes sense why they would say, let's go do this big thing. So I've completely changed even the beginning of this story, and then I'm also changing the tone of it. At first I had it written in a more like sulky, I'd say more like contemporary fiction manner, like very sulky and literal and just like flat to the point, very emotional and like boom, boom, boom. But that is not the tone or the vibe that I want for it. I want a more like Emily Henry fun vibe. I want to give the story a lot of body and meaning and character, not in the way of like character development, character in like, wow, this has great character, like who they are. The character of the story, if that makes sense. I'm doing a whole rewrite, revision thing, but it also feels so much better. Like when I'm writing the scenes, it feels more natural. It feels like this is the story I'm supposed to be telling and this is the tone I'm supposed to have versus the like, yeah, just like the undying and heartbreak, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't need all that. At first I was writing more in like a Sally Rooney, Lily King type tone, and that's just not me. Like when I look at this book and I read it, I don't want it to sound like someone else. I want it to sound like the story I want to tell. So I've been reading a lot of books recently that have a more Sally Rooney tone to it, and it just didn't feel like that was the right one for this story. I'm gonna go through my little black notebook and just see if I have any random ideas that jump out to me or brainstorm, see if anything comes up. Because I've found when I'm writing, I'm not necessarily thinking of these things that I might have pre-planned. Like when I'm writing, I'm very much in the zone and just present in the moment. And yes, great things can come out of that, but I do sometimes have really great ideas when I'm not writing and when I'm just doing random things, and I will think to myself, oh, I want to add this in or go back and put this, and I never do it. So letting myself look over this now before I actually start is just a good way to familiarize myself with these random ideas, because I don't like to take breaks while I'm writing and come back to real life. I like to stay in the story for as long as possible and just get as much done as I can, and then come out of it and look at these ideas and do what I need to do. Sometimes when I've taken a few days off of writing, which in this case, I've taken 3 days off. The last time I wrote was Thursday, it's now Monday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I didn't write anything. I do need breaks sometimes because when I'm doing it all day, every day, I get burnt out like I experienced when I was doing my school final. So I do take breaks, and this was a break weekend, so I'm coming back into it. But sometimes when I'm having a hard time doing that or getting back into it, I will do a little warm up. So I have 2 different resources that I love. This is 300 More Writing Prompts, which was a gift, and it just has so many different writing prompts. I don't fill them out just because I like to keep this book and I'm probably going to use this for years to come. So I will type it on my laptop. But I'll do it for 15 minutes, and this is a good way just to, get my brain working, get it going again. And then I also have these writing dice, which were also a gift. Pretty much, it's a bunch of different dices, and they have character dimensions, time, place, theme, conflict, point of view, and you roll them, and it pretty much makes a story for you. Or it gives you the main points of a story, and then you go in and do it yourself. So that's a good thing. All of the writing items and books that I mentioned, I always have linked down below just because I find them to be really helpful, and I'm not a gatekeeper. So yeah, if you want to check out any of that, it'll be down below. But alas, ideas are looked at, and it is finally time to actually get to writing. So initially I thought I was going to start off by jumping back into the scene I was working on last week, which was rewriting them meeting and refiguring out that. But I've jumped all the way to a different scene. I started writing it and reading it, and I just wasn't really feeling it. And then I scrolled down a little bit and was feeling a different part, another scene that I'd already started working on. So I ended up just doing that, which when I first started writing my book, I was very, very particular on what I was writing and when I was writing, and I very much wanted to go in order by chapter, scene by scene. I didn't want to jump around. I wanted to be very organized with it, but that's just not how I work. I'm more like an intuitive writer where I just jump where it feels right, and I had this specific idea for this scene, and I have an ambiance that I want to create, and I've had this picture in my mind for a minute now. I just haven't sat down to actually create it. So that's what I'm doing. And if I'm writing intuitively, I'm going to go towards what's feeling good, and this is a scene that's feeling good to me right now. Last thing on my agenda today to finish off my productive Monday, I'm gonna have a little FaceTime meeting, goals, dreams, planning session with one of my friends. Her name is Marley. It was actually her idea, and I actually love it, so feel free to steal this and do it with your own friends. But basically, well, actually, this is our first meeting, so I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna go, but we're gonna FaceTime each other and just talk about our goals for this week, what we did last week, if we accomplished them. Also do some dreaming, so just talk about more things we want to accomplish, or maybe further out things, big goals, things within the next couple years. But just, keeping our dreams alive, making sure we're holding each other accountable. And she described it as almost like having homework for each other, which is kind of fun. And I love that idea. And it's a great way to stay in touch with your long distance friends. Because I live in New York, she lives in North Carolina. We only see each other a couple times a year. So great way to keep in touch. And I'm very excited for this meeting because I love a good dreaming session. I think it's so important to regularly have them. Even if you're not doing them with other people, just doing it with yourself and sitting down and thinking about all the possibilities you can have in life. I think they're so important, especially as a writer. I don't think I would have the confidence or this innate feeling that I can do it if I wasn't such a dreamer, because it is actually insane and crazy to be I'm a writer, I'm gonna be a writer, or this is what I want to do full time. That's very hard to do. And as much as you see successful writers out there, it's actually very hard and rare to become one. So it's important to dream and manifest and keep the vision at the forefront and just truly believe in yourself and be confident. And I found a lot of that has come from doing things like this, writing down my goals and thinking about the future and being intentional with what I'm doing every single day.
I was at this thing one time, it was about goal setting. You're this much, I forgot the percentages, but it's this much more likely to accomplish it if you write it down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's 34% more likely or something like that.
Yeah. But then the highest, it's 80 or 90 if you have someone to keep you accountable.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I always start every morning with the journal session. I have to do it. I need to just dump all my thoughts, dump my brain. And then I read a nonfiction book about something that will just, help me be a little smarter or motivate me. So I'm currently reading The Confidence Effect. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. Eleanor Roosevelt. I just sat down and wrote 629 words, and for the first time in so long, I really feel like I'm moving the plot along and I'm not just sitting here trudging over the same words that I've written in the same story that I've been trying to figure out. I feel like I'm really making progress, and this is the type of momentum that I want to keep going with. Like, I wish I didn't have to stop right now and go do something else, but the reality of writing a book is that more often than not, you probably will be having to do other things while you're also writing it. So I do have a job where I have to make money so I can live my life and do the things I want to do, but the job is outside of writing. So I can't focus on this right now. I have to go do my job. I'm the social media manager for a blog. So I have to go do that. Not I have to, I get to go do it. But it does unfortunately pull me away from writing, and I feel so great right now. I definitely want to come back to this, so it's just more motivation for me to get in, be intentional, make sure I do my work, do it well, and then I can come back to this. I also made a lot of progress on developing the story beyond just the main plot. All the times in the past, or just the last couple months of working on this, I've been sitting on my main plot and just making sure I keep hitting that main point and going back to the main point. But it's all the little in between and the little moments that I feel like will really pull it all together and make it this full grand story that I'm trying to write. So, it can't just be one line and that's the only thing. There needs to be a lot of intersecting and other stories being pulled in, and I want there to be flashbacks and things like that. I feel very excited right now. I feel very amped up. This is that feeling that I get when I'm writing and I know that this is good. Sometimes when I'm writing, I will be like, "Ugh, an editor's totally gonna take this out," or this is not gonna make it into the final draft. But this, I'm like, oh my God, this could be it. This is going to make it into the story. These are words that someone's going to read one day and hold in a physical book. And that just makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so fulfilled and exciting. And this is why. This is why I want to write. This is why I want to make content and create. I'm trying to write a book. So, wow. Give myself a little pat on the back because I haven't felt this way in a minute, and it's just a great feeling. But you saw my morning routine. I try to do that every single morning. The journal, reading, I go work out, have my little breakfast, and then I try to jump right into writing because typically if I don't, I would just get distracted throughout the day, and then trying to come back to it, I have a little bit of a problem, but I'm hoping that doesn't happen today. So I'm glad I took the time to sit down and write. It's now 12 o'clock, so a little later than I had planned to start working on my other project, but it's fine, and I am feeling great. Okay, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little stinky right now from that workout. All I did was walk on the treadmill at an incline, but it was fast and my heart was beating and I sweat. So I'm gonna go shower, get ready, start my work. I will see you in a better state. And I'm ready to sit at my desk for the rest of the day. Even though I am fully work from home, I don't have any necessity to actually be getting ready. It just feels better when I have on a full outfit and pants and do my hair and makeup, have my jewelry on. I just feel better. I feel more put together. But I've decided I want to film a little TikTok before I start my social media work. I just finished this book last night, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I've been reading it for the last week and a half, which is a little long for me. I'm trying to read a book a week, or at least just fly through books quicker. But that little break that I took from writing, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I also stopped reading, which didn't help because I only had 60 pages left. So if I had just sat down for 45 minutes and read, I could have finished this days ago and then been multiple hundreds of pages into my next book and then, been quicker on my track. But it's okay. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I didn't. It's fine. I just finished it. I loved it. I'm going to film a TikTok doing a little review for it. Making TikToks doesn't help me write more words on the page or, tell my story. It doesn't do any of that. Making TikToks does help me build an audience and build credibility as a writer. So when it comes time to publish my book and share it and try to sell it to people, I will hopefully, from building, my TikTok and my YouTube, I will have a whole like cohort of people and an audience that want to buy from me and want to read the work that I've put in for the last couple years over this. So, sharing my process on YouTube and sharing my little TikTok videos, like all of it does go into the bigger picture of getting the book published. Sorry. I definitely don't think it's needed to have a social media presence if you want to be an author, but I just think in this day and age, it's helpful to be known on social media and to have a following. The way that, your network of people is the most important thing. It's like instead of a network, you have your followers. And when you have large numbers, when you have a huge audience already, there's no way that wouldn't help you in the long run. So I just find that important to keep building my audience and make sure, I have reputability as a writer and even as like someone who can just give good book reviews, like just tell you, hey, check out this book. I enjoyed it. Here's why, whatever. People will trust my reviews, and want to read my story. Most of the time, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. I just kind of press record and start going and hope it makes sense. I just want to do nothing but shower, relax, read my book, take my makeup off, like just decompress for the day. My work ended up taking a little bit longer than I thought it would, which this is just something that I need to remember. I need to allocate more time for it. I normally break out like 1 to 2 hours a day. I need to be breaking out like 3 to 4 just in my mind. And then if I work less than 3 to 4, that's great. I can put the time into writing. But on days like today, where I really had a lot of motivation and really wanted to get back into it, thinking it was only going to be an hour or two, really fucked me up because now I am here and I'm like, I just want to go to bed. Like the sun is down. I'm tired. There's no more words that are going to be typed for my book today at all. I can't even think about it. Normally, when I know or I have the feeling to write, but I'm not writing, my brain or my mind will just be like, write, or I'll think about writing, or I'll think about the story. I'm not thinking about it at all. All I'm thinking about is relaxing right now. So that's what I need to do. I am pretty bummed out though, because I had such great momentum going. I'm going to read the book that I'm currently reading, Out of Love by Hazel Hayes. Reading for me is kind of like an extension, not even kinda. Reading for me is an extension of my writing routine. I just made a whole video about this, about like why writers need to be reading, and I fully stand behind everything that I said in that video. It's like my number one tip. So I'm gonna read, and it's nice because this doubles as a relaxation, but I also am still, doing some work towards the writing, even though it doesn't always feel that way. I do tab these books, like I have all the little blue tabs in it. I only started this book this morning, so I haven't gotten too far. I'm 42 pages in, and then I just use these little tabber things that I literally got from the dollar store. I will annotate, I will mark things that seem important, if there's foreshadowing, if there's character development that I like, just anything that really resonates with me, whether it be something I can use in my book or not. I just mark it down. I am tired right now. My brain is like mush right now. Another day, another very full to-do list. It's about 11:45 and I've already written. Good job to me. I figured I wouldn't bore you with another writing montage since it's just literally me typing on a computer, but I already got that done. I wrote it down. I did 262 words. So I finished up the scene that I was working on yesterday, or I guess not finished it up, but I rounded out the end of the thought that was going on there, and then I have another section to start. So the chapter and the scene isn't necessarily done, but that little section and that whole thought is complete and the dialogue's there. So happy about that. That's complete. And then I also went back to the meet cute, my characters getting together. I went back to that scene and reworked a little bit of that, reread it. I added some notes. So I did a little bit of editing rather than writing, but long term, it felt like writing. It felt productive. So I'm happy about that. A little tip, a little whatever, something you can use if you're a writer, or if not, maybe you'll just find it interesting. But I do have a character brief sheet that I have been mentioning so much. I do this character brief sheet for all my characters, whether it be a book I'm writing, a short story, if I'm working on a film. And this character brief is basically just, 64 questions outlining everything about their life. But I'm gonna add a little section to it that I hadn't thought of before, and it's just gonna be, I haven't even thought of a title for it. Maybe like things or notes. I don't know. Basically, I just want to have a document where I can write the things that I've learned about my character as I'm writing it. For example, let's say, I don't know, your character ends up having a pet, and maybe that wasn't originally in your character workup. So now, your character has a pet, now I'm gonna write that in. Like, they like pets, or what's the pet's name? Like, random things like that, or just little details, like maybe what's their favorite song, or, did they wear a purple sweater one day and they expressed in the story, like, how much they loved it, or someone complimented them and it meant a lot. Little things like that I can remember and then go back to or place in other parts of the story. I know for myself, I sometimes have trouble going back to those little details just because you're creating a full person and this full world. There's little things you're going to forget, just how there's things you forget about yourself and things you forget about your childhood. So all of that. So as I'm writing and figuring out those tiny little details, I'm going to put them on this character brief sheet and just make notes of them so I can remember. I can always go back to it, kind of like a little cheat sheet, but for myself. I do want to circle back and do a little bit more writing related things, whether that be reading or research, but I don't see myself typing anything else. Like, my brain is very much like not in writing mode anymore because I have the in-person meeting in like an hour. So I just want to get ready and prepare for that and make sure I'm all set up. But I would say so far this has been a very successful week for the writing, considering that the last couple weeks I have just had writer's block or been having a hard time getting anything on the page. I'm proud of myself. It's good. It's also only Wednesday and I've already like surpassed what my goal would be for the week. Meeting went well, and on the way home I ended up stopping in Barnes & Noble just because it's been a while since I've been in a bookstore. I don't think I've been in one since like August, which is so unlike me. In addition to just feeling super inspired when I see all the books and I start imagining and envisioning my book being up there, I just think it's good for like research purposes and just making sure I'm staying up to date with what's going on. Like, what colors are all these covers? What are the premises of most of these books? Like the ones that are coming out currently, like the new ones in 2025. Because typically I'm reading books that came out between like 2016 like 2022. Like, I wouldn't say I normally grab for new releases unless it's from an author that I've continually read. But yeah, I don't really go into bookstores and like pick up new books. So I really find it important to make sure I'm going in and like staying up to date with the new stuff that's coming out. Again, what the covers are looking like, what the titles are looking like, making sure none of the books have the same title as me. I do also want to add, this is what my life looks like as a writer. However, everyone's routines and everyone's lives are going to look different, of course. So, this is just my system, but I know so many people that write every single night, or they write from like 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. That's not me. I'm sleeping by 10 p.m. But like, for some people, that's what works. Everyone's routine is different. So this is just what works for me. But this is the reality of what writing a book has been like. It is not hours and hours and hours and hours sitting at my desk just morning to night pumping out these words. It's a lot of staring at my screen and only writing 100 words like I did today. Or, having to do things in between and then no longer feeling motivated because there's other things I have to do and other responsibilities in order to be able to continue writing. But I loved being able to show you the last couple days of my life, and I actually had like a fun time doing this, so I think I will make more videos like this. But definitely let me know if you enjoyed, and I will see you very soon for a brand new video.